السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح. ربنا زدنا علما وبعد. Firstly, a very warm welcome to all of you on this beautiful evening, mashallah, to this workshop titled Raising Believers. Now, before we get into today's workshop itself, just a few housewarming points. First and foremost, we are here on behalf of an organization called the Muslim Family Foundation. The Muslim Family Foundation is a charitable organization which was established about 3 to 4 years ago with the aim of helping Muslim families flourish. That is the purpose, the goal, the motto, the vision of the organization. That we see a society in which strong Muslim families are leading to strong Muslim societies and ultimately a strong ummah. Right? And the organization works on the basis of what we call our 3 C's. 3 C's standing for courses, counseling, and camps. So courses are workshops like this which we deliver. Alhamdulillah, over the last 4 years, we've delivered more than 60 workshops across the country. And we have benefited more than 3,000 plus students. Our workshops cover topics like marriage, parenting like today, mental health, addictions, and Islamic wills. All things that affect the Muslim family. Likewise, alhamdulillah, we have a team of qualified counselors who deliver counseling on various issues for those who need help. And then lastly, the 3rd C stands for camps, which are halal family retreats where families come together and bond in a good environment. So that is the Muslim Family Foundation. Finally, my name is Muaaz, and here with us we have Mufti Zubair Patel. And this is what you have to look forward to today. Okay, so every one of us here wants to be successful, right? In every facet of our life. Whether in your work you want to be successful, whether in your marriage you want to be successful. Likewise, as a parent, we also want to be successful fathers and mothers. Now, what is the way of attaining success when it comes to parenting? For this, we present what we call our formula for success. If you want to maximize your chance of being a successful parent, 3 ingredients must come together. And what are they? Ingredient number 1 is that you must have a vision for your children. You must have a vision for your children. And inshallah, we will discuss each of these in more detail during the course of today's workshop. Once you have a vision of who you want your child to become, what success looks like for you in terms of your children, you then need to combine that with understanding your child. For those of us who have 2, 3, 4 children, we will know that every child of ours is different. They may come from the same mother and father, but yet every child is different. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their personality, their temperament, their character, right? It's all different. So you have to nurture each of your children according to that child, according to their temperament, their personality. The better you understand your child, the more effective you can be in their tarbiyah. Okay. And the 3rd aspect then, which brings this all together very nicely, is parenting skills. So you may have a vision. I want my child to be like this in the future. You may understand that child very, very well. But then if you lack the prophetic parenting skills, you will not be able to bring that dream into reality. So a person who wants to be a successful parent, ultimately it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But our effort is to have a vision, to understand our children, and then thirdly, to develop these parenting skills within ourselves, And if we can combine all three of these, then inshallah, we will be maximizing our chance of being a successful father or mother. And so inshallah now I will pass over to Mufti Zubair Sahib to begin our discussion on vision.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. So, now, our vision for our child, this is the first thing that we need to understand. So if we were to look into the future, if you look into the future, what do you see your child becoming? That's simply what your vision will become. So if you see top left, the camera, is it that you want your child to be famous? Is that what you envisage your child to become? Somebody who has reputation in society, maybe doesn't have too much fame, but to a degree where they can get things done perhaps. Or maybe you want proper fame, right? Maybe they're a YouTuber, So whatever it is that you want your child to become, because nowadays I think some people, this is their aspiration, to become a YouTuber, right? So this is maybe what somebody wants their child to become if you look into the future. Or is it the top right hand side, you see there's a load of money, mashallah, I'm sure we understand you want your child to become really rich, mashallah. Is this the vision you see for your child? Or is it bottom right hand side, we see that your child is somebody who is very popular amongst people, has a lot of social skills, and knows a lot of people and gets on well with a lot of people. Is it somebody like this that you're looking for in terms of the most important skill for your child? Or is it the bottom left, as we can imagine and understand that this is a child or somebody who will eventually become a great worshipper, meaning somebody who is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understanding of their religion and their religious duties. So is this what you expect that your child will eventually become? So which one out of the four do we think that we want our child to be? So this is your vision. This is something you're looking at in the future. For those who want to, this is something that, it was a workshop, we're going to ask you, everybody to engage, inshallah. The sisters can engage through the Slido. Out of, I'm sure this one's just a nice warmer. It's a starter. Inshallah, it's a nice easy one. We're going to get you to engage a lot more, inshallah, okay? So it's not a bayan, you've not come for a bayan here. So we've come here to, inshallah, have a little workshop. Inshallah, you'll go away with some skills that you're going to, inshallah, take away and to be able to implement. So in order to do that, we need to engage, Otherwise, you're going to be staring at me, but actually your head is somewhere else, Sleeping, mashallah, or maybe somewhere else. So I want you to engage, okay? So which one out of the four? Number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Which one out of the four do you see your child to be? Is it number 1? Number 1, you can put your hands up. Number 2? Are you sure you don't want money? No? Okay. Yeah, mashallah. We have one at least. Okay, then number 3? No? Happy in life. At least they're happy, right? Just want them to be happy. Yes, maybe, yes. And number 4? Yes, number 4. Mashallah, we're looking around. Yeah, mashallah, we have a lot more number 4s. Yes? So I guess that majority of the people here, especially if you're sitting here, then your vision for your child is going to be somebody who grows up and in essence understands and prioritizes their deen. Yeah, this is their priority. Their deen. Not to say that they do not have any of the others. Perhaps you want all of them, yes? But realistically, are you going to get somebody who has all of them? No, you're not going to get a child that has all of them, right? Realistically, you're not going to get that. So there you're going to have to prioritize. That's the question you have to ask yourselves. That am I actually dreaming, I want that one, but what am I doing to try to achieve that? That's the idea. That's the reason of understanding this first, that we all share a vision. We want our child to be understanding of Allah Ta'ala, understanding of the rights of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, and prioritizing that, yes? Then we need to ask ourselves the question that how much are we working towards that? Okay? So this is the first question we want to ask ourselves.
Okay, so obviously this workshop is entitled Raising Believers, because we knew that all of you are going to say that our number one priority, and rightly so, is to raise children who are firm on their belief, who live on Iman, who die on Iman. Right? So this is where we all agree. But the question then is that we make this claim, but how true are we to this claim in the way we raise our children? So, we all agree our vision is we want to see a child who prioritizes his deen. How are we going to make that vision a reality? Now this is the juicy part. Okay? How do we make this vision a reality? Well, there are three components which must come together. And again, this is based on the Quran, as we will show you. Okay? But there are three components which must come together. And when they come together, inshallah, you will be able to make your vision a reality. The first aspect is that you yourself as a parent must model that behavior. It's very, very simple. You want your child to be somebody who prays salah. But you don't pray salah. Do you think your child is going to pray? No, of course not. Right? Because our children follow our actions more than they obey our words. Yes or no? So you have to be a person who models the behavior that they want to see in their child. Whatever qualities you want to see in your children, bring them into your own life first. Okay? And inshallah we'll discuss each of these in much more detail. But the first aspect is role modeling. You can give your children all the advice in the world. But if your actions are contrary to that, do not be surprised if your children don't obey your words. All they will see, and I hate to say this word, is a hypocrite. Yes or no? A person who says something and does something else. So you must role model the traits you want to see in your children. Okay. The second aspect, which you must combine with this, is then your child's schedule. Right? Just like you have a business, right? How do you make money from your business? The capital that you put into your business, you use that to then make profit. Yes or no? In the same way, your child's capital is the time they have during their younger years. Right? Where are you spending that time? If the vast majority of their time is going towards worldly pursuits, then don't be surprised when they grow up, their focus, their objective in life is also worldly pursuits. So inshallah today we will help you break down your child's timetable and really analyze that how much of my child's time is really going towards cultivating their deen. How much of my child's time is really going towards building their iman, nurturing their akhlaq, etc., etc. And is it enough to then make this vision of a pious, righteous child a reality? And then the third key aspect, which must come with this, and again this is all from the Quran as we'll show you, is the decisions that you make pertaining to your child. Throughout life, throughout the different stages of your child's life, you will be faced with different decisions. You might be faced with, okay, what school should I send my child to? Should I send them to a state school, maybe to a private school with top quality education? Or then should I maybe choose an Islamic school, but where most likely the secular education won't be of the best standard? That's a question you will face. You might face a question, should I live close to a masjid, where the house is maybe really expensive, or the house is maybe small, or should I move further away, right, where I can get a nice big house, but I'm not close to the masjid, right? So these kind of different decisions you will be faced with in life. Right? How are you making those decisions? What criteria are you using to make those judgments? Right? Many a times we claim we want the deen, but then our criteria is money, is comfort, is ease, is being in a nice environment, and so many other things, right? So if all of these three things align together with your vision, then inshallah that vision will become a reality. Okay? And we see this very, very clearly in the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Quran, as we will now show you.
So now, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, let's look at his example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us in the Quran. As we know, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us the knowledge of everything. We have to look for it. Now, in the Quran, Allah gives us example of father and son relationship. And in essence, He's giving us clues, He's giving us understanding of how we can role model in accordance to how Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam showed us how his connection with his son was, Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. So we see in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us this whole map that we just talked about. First, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us regarding role modeling. So we talked about role modeling, right? We have to first, if we have a certain vision for our child, what's our vision for our child? Our vision was, we want to see them in sujood. We want to see them prostrating in front of our Rabb. That's what we want to see, eventually. So how does Ibrahim ﷺ achieve this? First thing he does is he role models this for himself. So what does he do? He says, when he makes dua, he says, Rabbi ja'alni muqim as-salati. Oh Allah, make me the one who establishes prayer. He asks, when he makes dua, to make him first establish prayer. Yes? And then he's asking what? Make me steadfast in prayer and my offspring as well. رَبِّ جَعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, and my offspring. So the idea is, first you're concentrating on yourself to get yourself correct. So that's the first thing. He's worried about role modeling. The second thing he does is what we said, is then you make the child's schedule around this vision that you want to aim towards. You want your child to pray, then that means the scheduling must be in accordance to it. So what does he do? What does Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam do? وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيلُ. So he's making sure that Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was raising the foundations of the house, along with who? Along with Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, with his son. Now, if Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam wanted, could he not have just done it himself? Like many of us fathers, we're doing a job. We just go along and do the job ourselves. Are you going to take your child with you? No, because they're not going to be able to do it well. They're not going to be able to do it properly. Yes or no? What they're going to know? Let me just get it done myself, yes? But what does Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam do? He takes his son along. Why? To build the Kaaba. To build the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because if you're building the house of Allah ta'ala, inshallah, that importance is going to grow towards populating and being in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be around it, yes? That connection, affiliation grows. So you see, his schedule was then built around this. This is what he did. The third thing we see he does is he makes a decision. Once he's worked out the schedule, he makes conscious decision to make sure that the child's, it may be a difficult decision sometimes, as we can see over here. What does he do? He says, oh my Lord, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh my Lord, I have inni askantu min dhurriyati biwadin ghayri dhi zar'in inda baytika al-muharram. That, oh Allah, I have settled some of my offspring in a barren valley near your sacred house. Why? Why did he do this? لِيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, so that they can establish prayer. Oh Lord, why? So they can establish prayer. You see what he did? It's not an easy decision, is it? There's nothing there. It's barren land. It's a difficult decision that you have to now make. That, am I going to choose this decision? That decision that we have to make right now in summer. What decision? Do I keep them awake till Isha? Do I wake them up for Fajr? And then they're going to have to wake up for school again. Difficult decision, yes. But that is the difficult decision that you're going to have to make, because if your vision is something, and then you work out a schedule according to it, then you're going to have to make certain decisions. It may be difficult, but that decision needs to be made. Then what happens? Eventually you see the outcome. What's the outcome? he attains a child now, who is Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. He grows up to not only be somebody who establishes prayer himself. What does he become? He, meaning Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, who does he become? He becomes somebody who وَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ أَهْلَهُ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. He became somebody who commanded his household to be also establishing prayer. Yes? So definitely he himself, meaning Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, is establishing prayer now. He is establishing prayer and he's also commanding his progeny to establish prayer. So do you see, how did Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam attain that? It's through the steps that we've talked about, right? So you need to role model yourself. You need to work out the schedule in accordance to that, what you want, that vision. You need to make the decision, and then you will see the outcome. The eventual outcome is something you will attain at the end, is not something that you may get immediately. But this is from the Quran we are learning from Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Yes? So, as we've given an example here, that what do we do in, for example, in terms of our scheduling? Inshallah, for this we'll shed a bit more light.
Okay, so normally with all of our workshops we have booklets. We had about 20 people register. So we printed maybe about 25 out, but there's 25 sisters upstairs, so they take priority, mashallah, right? So we've given them to the sisters. Hopefully some more are coming, inshallah. But if not, at least take part by interacting with us, okay? And sisters, please do use the booklets. You've been given preference over the brothers, inshallah, yeah? So in the booklet on page 4, what you will see is what is here, which is that if you want your child to be a man of deen, somebody righteous and pious, then you must have activities in their daily life to be nurturing that deen. Yes or no? So you need to think that in my child's daily practice, in my child's weekly practice, what is there that is nurturing their deen? So these are some ideas we have. Some things like, is your child going to maktab? First of all, on the weekdays or on the weekend? Could you potentially have a family Quran circle, which is where you sit together as a family, you read a page of the Quran, right, the Arabic, the English, and you discuss what are the lessons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here. So you are bonding as a family over the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Could you maybe have story time, especially with younger children? You're reading stories of the prophets, you're reading stories of the Salaf, right? Stories of the greats of this ummah, and building up their ambition to be a contributor to the ummah. Could you maybe have weekly family meetings where you get together and you discuss what have you served, what have you done for the sake of deen this week? Could you perhaps have reward charts where you are encouraging your children to pray salah, and when they've been consistent over a certain number of weeks, certain number of months, you're rewarding them? Yeah? And so many other aspects, so many other ideas. So for the sisters at least, and for the brothers mentally, just ask yourself, do we have enough activities like this in our daily schedule and in our weekly schedule? Right? On a minimum, you should ideally have 3 basic practices each day. So for example, it could be that in the morning, you ensure that your children start the day with the Quran. Yeah. One of our teachers, he has this very beautiful practice where his children do not get breakfast until and unless they have recited the Quran for 10 minutes at least. Why? It is teaching them that before you take your physical nourishment, make sure you have your spiritual nourishment. It's a very small practice, but these small practices, they add up. So maybe you could get them to start the day with 10 minutes of Quran, such that when they grow up later, they will not even feel comfortable having breakfast until they've read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Simple practice. Yeah. Could you maybe have that each night before they sleep, you're sitting with them and you're reading a small story and you're discussing the morals and what lessons, right? And at least one weekly practice. For example, could you maybe bring your children to Jumu'ah with you once a week, perhaps? Or maybe once a week you're going together for a family walk and you are engaged in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But something you're doing together as a family while bonding over the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? These kind of practices are very small, they're very simple, but in the long term their benefits add up. And they create the strength of iman in your children. Okay? So this is on page 4. Now, likewise, one of the other things, and again the sisters can do this, is that in the booklet you will see, on page 5 and 6, that you can actually jot down your child's timetable. You know, we said looking at your child's timetable and understanding how much of their time is actually going towards nurturing their iman. How much? Yes? So, in the booklet, you can jot this down. Right? And if you don't have a timetable, inshallah, you can use this opportunity to make a timetable. What I'm just going to focus on here is that we did this for the average Muslim family. You take the average Muslim family and look at, the way they spend their time with their children during a week, and we tallied it together. And the numbers were roughly this. On average, a Muslim child goes to maktab to learn the deen of Allah for 10 hours a week, and 2 hours, 5 days a week. Out of their entire weekly hours, that is only 6% of time. 6%, that's it. Then if you look at the other hours, 30 hours per week, 18% of their time is going towards schooling. So you think, for Islam, only 6% dedicated. For the dunyawi pursuit of education, maths and science, and history and geography, you have 18%. Yes or no? And then you look at how many hours are children typically spending for family bonding. Again, roughly about 15 hours. Again, 9%. How many hours for extracurricular activities? 4%. How many hours for entertainment? Playing video games, watching football, things like this? 11%. Now, just when you look at this, we think we give so much preference to deen, don't we? And yet we see the deen only has 6%. Bichara is right at the bottom. Entertainment gets more hours. Schooling gets more hours. Yes? So, we need to do something about this. What can you do? There's a few simple things. One, if your child is going to a secular school, for example, could you potentially shift them to a good Islamic school? Simply by doing that, those 18 hours which are now going to secular education are now being shifted to an Islamic education. Why? An Islamic school has an Islamic ethos, an Islamic mindset. Yes? Likewise, at home, beyond the maktab, make sure you have activities taking place at home. Yes? So that you can supplement those hours further. Also, if you look at family bonding, many parents, once they get older, they complain that my children are so busy, they don't call me, they don't talk to, they don't come visit me. And the reason is because when your children were young, you never created that bond with them. So it's very important to have family bonding time. Very important. Whether that be things like, daily your meals are together, or at least one meal. Whether it be weekly activities that you're doing, right? Whether it be, every once a month, once every 2 months, you guys are going on a short weekend break. But there's things you're doing together as a family to create that family bond. And the last key thing is to look at the negative influences upon our children as well. From these in particular, I want to point out entertainment. Our children spend, here I've said 18 hours. That's probably an underestimate. But they spend huge numbers of hours entertaining themselves every week. Whether that be on their phones, on social media, through games. And these can be avenues of negative influence on our children. Let me give you some real examples, right? As parents, often we're very naive. We don't know what's going on. Or we pretend to be naive. But actually, these are avenues of great potential harm. So, for example, there was a youngster I know who from a young age, he would play games, video games with his cousin brothers. And his parents wouldn't think much of it. They're just young boys playing video games. And they just let them get on with it. Now what the boys would do amongst themselves is they would bet with each other. That, okay, look, if we win in this game, right, you guys give us 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever. Or take us out for dinner. And if you win, we'll do the same. Yeah? So these were like light things, small things. The parents thought, whatever, it's just light going, small fun, nothing wrong with it. Then what happened was that one of those boys, this actually triggered a habit within him. That he started off, betting with his cousins on these games. And then from that he progressed onto betting on sports matches, on apps, on mobile phones. And then from that he progressed to going into betting shops. And eventually by the age of 25, 26, right, was started off as, from a young age, 10 years old, 12 years old. By 25, 26, he'd gambled away 50,000 pounds of money. Yeah, a lot of parents' money, a lot of credit card debt. And there were people literally coming, knocking on his parents' house, saying, your son owes us money. Where did this all start off? From an innocent game, which the parents thought nothing of. Yeah, and this is true. Within certain games, you have this thing called loot boxes. Yes, I mean the youngsters will know what it is. The adults probably don't know. But loot boxes, what are they? So in games, you have these boxes which are like mystery boxes. You can use in-game currency or real currency to buy these boxes. And once you purchase them, you can win something. Yeah, you might get some kind of prize, you might get some kind of in-game reward, could be anything. Research shows that when children play games with loot boxes, it actually increases their chances of getting into gambling later in life. Yeah, this is research. Why? Because from a young age, they've got this buzz that I'm going to pay for this thing, open this box, and I might get something really good. There's that excitement. Now for us as parents, we think nothing. But this is actually a pathway. According to research, it's a pathway towards gambling later in life. Yeah? This is just one small example. There are so many things like this in games. Yeah? So many games, the ethics of those games, what they're teaching our children, is not in line with Islam. Yeah? So we have to be aware where our children are spending their free hours. Whether it be with games, whether it be on social media. On social media, you have what you call influencers. What do you think their job is? No prizes for guessing. To influence, right? So they want to influence your children. And oftentimes it's not in good ways. Yes or no? So we as parents can no longer pretend to be naive or be ignorant. No, we have to be very, very aware what games are our children playing. Are they watching shows? What kind of shows are they watching? Yes or no? If they are, which they shouldn't be, what kind of shows are they watching? Who are they following on social media? Who are they being influenced by? Right? So these are all questions we have to be very, very aware about. Because slowly, these things are molding your child's brain. When is a child's brain most moldable? At that young age. When they're easily influenced. At that time when we're supposed to be influencing them, we've given them free rein. That others are influencing them. Yeah. Imagine, an influencer, you could see them face to face. This is a bad person. You would never let your child talk to them. Yes or no? Because this person is a bad influence. But on social media, you let your child follow that person, like that person, yes, seek out their content, watch hours and hours, and be influenced. So again, as parents, we have to be very aware. Entertaining themselves itself is not wrong within limit, but how are they doing it? And is it in a healthy and safe way?
So now that we understand in regards to role modeling, creating the schedule, making decisions, and obviously the timetabling, we next need to understand regarding creating a good fit for our child. So what does this mean? What do we mean by creating a good fit? So we need to understand the temperament of our child. What is our child's temperament? So just like we as adults have a certain temperament, yes? That temperament needs to be coupled with a good environment that matches that temperament, and also the people in that environment all need to be in harmony to create a good fit. So what do I mean? For instance, I'll give you a simple example to understand what we're talking about here. Let's say I am somebody who feels really hot. I'm just naturally hot-blooded. I just feel really hot. So I come in and I whack the doors open. I open all the windows. I want AC blasting. I want it nice and cold. Yes? Somebody else comes in, feels really cold. And they're now fighting with me, isn't it? Why you open the windows? Why are you blasting the AC? Yes or no? Why? Because that person in my environment doesn't match my temperament. My temperament is, I like it to be cool, cold, nice. Yes or no? If there are other people in that environment also, that also like it like me, now what is it? There's a match, there's a harmony between my temperament and their temperament, so the people match me, yes or no? But we also require the place, the environment to also be cool. What if we couldn't open the windows? We try our best, but the windows aren't opening. The AC is not in our control, right? And the underfloor heating is already on. Now what happens? We all like it cold, but it's not in our control. Our environment is also not matching us. Does that make sense? So what we need to understand the temperament of our child, the environment that this child is growing up in, that we're creating around this child, and the people in this environment. And when we create harmony between them, this is what we mean a good fit. So we need to create a good fit for the child, so that they're able to flourish, they're able to grow in an environment which suits them best. Now, this doesn't mean that necessarily we're always going to be the same temperament as our child, because many a times it will not be a match between our temperament, our child's temperament. We might be somebody who sleeps early, they may want to sleep late. We might be an early riser, they might want to sleep till late, right? We may be somebody who likes going out and socializing, they don't like socializing. You follow me? There's sometimes there's not a match in temperament. And that's the reason when there's no match in temperament with a particular child, and maybe not with your own child, because we don't like to think that I don't match my child. But many a times, if you notice a nephew or a niece, right? If you get on with this nephew or that niece, you get on with them very well. You and them click. But that other one, not so much. You're trying to create conversation, but they don't really give you one-word answers. Don't really look at you eye to eye, and it's like, oh, forget them. Who can be? I can't be wasting time with them, right? Yeah, you don't really get on with them. Yes? So that nephew and niece, why? Because you don't match their temperament, or they don't match your temperament. And the one that you get on with is that you two get on very well. Why? Because your likes, your dislikes are very similar. Your temperaments match. Does that make sense? So the point is, when you have a match in temperament, you get on very well. But even if with your own children, the point here now is, with your own children, you can't change sometimes too much of that. So what you have to do, you have to at least recognize the temperament of your child, and then try your best to create a good fit for them. Now, how do you do that? Inshallah, we'll discuss in the next slides.
So, alhamdulillah, I think all the brothers now have booklets as well. So some of the activities we couldn't do earlier, inshallah, we will return back to them to give you that opportunity. But let us just finish this conversation on creating a good fit. Okay. So what we want you to do, the first step to creating a good fit is understanding your child's temperament. For that, if you open the booklet and go to page number 8 on the booklet, there's a child temperament questionnaire, right? So please, we're going to give you maybe 3-4 minutes right now. Open the booklet, go to pages 8, 9, and 10, and complete the child temperament questionnaire, okay? So if you have multiple children, just do it for any one of your children, maybe the most difficult one, right? The one you find most challenging to deal with, and just complete that questionnaire for them. Okay, so hopefully you've had a few minutes to complete the child temperament questionnaire. Okay. Now, this questionnaire will serve two purposes. The first purpose is that it will teach you what your child's temperament is, right? And that's very, very important, because only when you understand your child's temperament can you then take steps to facilitate for that. Remember, their temperament is the way Allah has created them. Okay? So only once you understand it can you take steps to facilitate that. And we'll explain what steps you have to take. But also the second benefit that this serves is that if you add up the scores for your child and you sum them together, then on the bottom of page 10 you see a score. If your total number was between 9 to 18, you have, alhamdulillah, an easygoing child. If your number was between 19 to 28, your child is more of a determined child, meaning not as easy to deal with. And if you got 29 plus, then mashallah, Allah help you, you have a spirited child, yeah, if we can call it that in a politically correct words, yes. But many of us, we complain, oh, my child is difficult. Well, now you have proof. Now you can brag about that to your fellow parents, inshallah. Okay? But jokes aside, this will tell you your child's temperament. And this is the first step now, inshallah, to creating a good fit.
So now that we understand regarding how are you going to work out your child's temperament, the next step we want to follow this chain along, we see that assess how well situations and environments fit your child's temperament. So, how does the child's temperament now fit the environment that you're going to put that child into? So, for instance, if you see that when you go, let's say, give you an example to make understand, right? So let's say you go shopping, right? You go to shopping, the superstore, the supermarket, and your child is running havoc, right? Running up and down the aisles, yeah, picking everything, trying their best to buy whatever it is that they want to buy. Can I buy this, please, 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 please? And you say no, 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 and no. And then they eventually throw a tantrum. They're rolling around on the floor maybe, and it becomes very difficult for you to try to even get a little shop done. And by the end of that shopping, you're calling them, you're chasing them, where are you gone? It's like they're lost now halfway through, where they gone, and you're chasing them down the aisles and things. It becomes quite difficult for you to just do a mini shop, and you're thinking, you're pulling your hair out, thinking that what's happening here, yes? So why is it that this happened? It's because now you didn't analyze your child's temperament and see that the environment that you're now going to put your child into may not suit. Or let's say you're going to come to the masjid. You're going to come to the masjid and you're going to bring your child along, mashallah, yes? Now what happens? Your child's running everywhere. Yeah, going up and down the rows, mashallah, running from one side to the other and disturbing everyone perhaps, yes or no? And at the end, everyone's giving you the stares. Yeah? Everyone's looking at you. And you feel a bit intimidated maybe even. And then afterwards you're having a go at your child that you embarrassed me. Yeah, I told you sit still. I told you before that you stay here, you don't run around, and you started running around. Yes or no? Experienced? So the point is, why has this happened? That's the question you want to ask yourself. Is because you didn't assess how well the environment that you're now going to put your child into matches the temperament of your child. So for instance, what you could have done, let's say you know that you're taking your child, you're going to go shopping, or you're going to come to the masjid. Yes? Now you have half an hour to spare. You can see that there's half an hour left before I even set off. So you could just waste that half an hour at home doing nothing, just faffing around, doing this and that and the rest of it, and half an hour will just go. Yes? Or you can wisely assess and think that my child's temperament is what? That they are very energetic. They have a lot of energy. If I take them into a new environment, especially if I take them into a spacious environment like a supermarket or like a masjid, they will run around because they got all the energy, right? So what do I do now? Half an hour before, let me go out early. Let me take them to Corporation Park, for example, right? And what do? Let them run around. Come on, here you go, son, run. Right? Run around as much as you want for half an hour. Come on, run more. Come on, I race you. Come on, carry on going. What happens now? After half an hour, they're exhausted. Right? Now you take them to the masjid and tell them, make you sit here, yes? Now what's going to happen? They're going to sit there now, isn't it? More likely that they're going to sit there now. Why? Because you understood their temperament and what did you do? You assessed how this environment that you're now going to put them in matches or doesn't match their temperament. So you accommodated for that to make sure that they don't cause you stress and it doesn't lead to a breakup between you and them. Because what tends to happen, if you don't accommodate for their temperament properly, you're going to always end up telling them off. Yes? Because you're going to have to tell them off after they've misbehaved now. They've misbehaved in shopping. They've not allowed you to shop. I just have to go. It would have taken us 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and because of you, it took us double the time. And you're having a go at them now. So they now start to think that my mom or my dad doesn't like me. You know, they don't really like me. Isn't it? They start to build those feelings. And for you as well, you know, this one is mischievous. This one's so naughty. Yeah, then you start comparing, you start saying that, oh, look at you, look at him, look at her, look at this one, look at that one. Look how, and then you even start pointing out other people. Look at this one. Look at that child sitting there. Look at you doing this. Yes? And what starts to happen with you as well? You start to create this friction between you and them, and you start to grow apart. Does that make sense? So this all happens because we don't analyze properly. We don't assess properly. We don't create an environment for them which suits them. So this is what we're talking about, is assess how well situations and the environments fit your child's temperament. That's the second step, yes? Then the third thing we're doing is identify how your temperament fits and doesn't fit together. So firstly, you're going to have to identify your own temperament, yes? So how are you going to identify your own temperament is this temperament test that you did for your child that we told you to do. Do the same test again now for yourself. So do it with for your own self, do the same thing. And see where maybe you match and maybe where you're on the opposite side of the spectrum from them. So we'll give you a few minutes, just go through the whole thing again, thinking of yourself, and do it for yourself. Okay, I think that should have been enough time for everyone to complete that for themselves. I mean, the idea is not for you to rush through this, but inshallah, hopefully you can get a taste of this. And obviously you can do the same thing for all your children, and you can do it for yourself. And then you can also discuss this with your spouse, right? Because sometimes you'll see yourself on one side, your spouse on the other side, and how well you fit with a particular child and how well they fit with a particular child, and then hence work together in order to create the best fit for your children, each one of them. Because you'll notice that your children are actually quite different when it comes to this, their temperament, yes? So now once you've identified your temperament, how it fits or it doesn't fit together, what you want to do is consider how your reactions to your children affect their behavior. And inshallah, we'll give some examples for you to understand in each step, so you'll understand what we're talking about here, yes? So when, for example, if you are going to react towards your child, like I explained already, you react in a very aggressive way, right? You're shouting at them, you're telling them off, you're giving a punishment to them, because according to you, they did something which was mischievous. They did something naughty. They didn't do according to the instructions that you gave them before you went into this environment. Now what happens? You're reacting towards them in a certain way. What happens now? How will they react to that? How will they take that? We have to put ourselves in their shoes and understand what kind of feeling it creates between or in them towards us, and in us towards them. So what you want to do positively now, what you want to do is work to respond more sensitively and effectively to your children, to your child. So what we mean is, let's take for example, in the questionnaire that you just did, if we just take an example of, let's say we've done number one, I gave you an example of where if you have a, active or very energetic child, right? Then what do you do? Yeah, we've understood how to do that in a practical way, right? Let's look at, for example, 3. If your child is someone who, when they see a new person, a person who they've not met before, how do they react? And how do you react? So let's say your child is somebody who's maybe a 5, that is perhaps withdraws, yes? And you are maybe a number 1. You can immediately approach the person, smile, say salam, who are you, how are you, where are you from, what village you're from, who's your father, everybody, yes? Ask all the questions. So you're somebody like that. So you're number 1 and they're number 5. Can you see now how conflict will create between you and them? When you're with them or when they're with you, and you, for example, come into the masjid, or you go to a relative's house, and you're telling them, we're going to go there, make sure you do salam. Yes or no? Or you go there, you never even told them to do salam, but you just expected them to do it, right? Because that's natural, right? So you go there and you're like saying, oh, do salam. And they're like shy, and they're like, they're not putting their hand out. They're like, yeah. You're like, do salam, do salam. And they're like kind of forcing their hand, like picking their hand up as well, and they're putting your hand towards the uncle, whoever it is, the auntie, whoever it is that you're making them do salam with, yes or no? And you're like, come on, say salam. And they're like murmuring something in the, like, you're forcing them. They're like, they don't feel comfortable. Yes? Happens, yes? I'm sure we understand what happens. And then after we've had that conversation with this uncle, whoever it is, what do? We turn around to them and say what? What is it? Well done. Yeah, no, we say, you ashamed me. Yeah, they're going to think, look at this, they're going to think, what have I taught you? Yeah, what manners have you been taught? You don't even know how to do salam. Yeah, you're not even doing salam. Come on. You're meant to do salam, you're meant to ask them questions, you're meant to talk to them. This is this is your uncle, this is an imam, like you're meant to get the du'as, and we're going to react in this way, isn't it? Right? Why? Because we haven't understood who they are. When they meet somebody, they withdraw. And we're completely on the opposite spectrum now. So we're not understanding them. Do we see this? So now if we start to understand the temperament of our child, and we start to understand that actually there's somebody that withdraws. Yes? You go to a relative's house. Right? and maybe you haven't been there for some time. Yeah, you haven't been there for some time. Now there's younger children there as well, that similar age to your child as well. And you're like having a little chit chat with your relative, and you're telling your child to play. Go on, play. And they're like, no. They're still like withdrawing themselves towards you. And you're like pushing them forward, like, go on, go play. They're your age. You know, they're just about sitting one side now. They just sit there because you made them sit there now. And you're just watching them. Whilst talking, you're just watching them. And they're just sitting there. They're not taking any toys. The other children are coming and maybe placing some toys in front of them as well. And they're not like getting involved or anything. Yes? How does it make you feel? Yeah, it makes you feel, isn't it? That now everyone's going to think this is the manners of my child. This is what I'm teaching my child. Yes or no? That's what we think. Immediately we start thinking that my child is showing me up. So we're going to have a go at them, yes? But if you left this child for a while, you left the child for long enough, what will happen after a while? You'll start noticing if the child is sitting on a chair or on a sofa, slowly what will happen? They'll slide their way down and they'll somehow get to that toy that has been placed in front of them. They've been staring at it for 5 minutes, yes? Thinking, shall I take it? Shall I not take it? Shall I take it? Shall I play with it? Shall I not play with it? Yes? Eventually they mustered the courage to be able to go slide their way there slowly and start playing with it. Now they start feeling a bit more comfortable. They start playing with it. Slowly, they start playing with it and they start making noises with their mouth now. They start making noises as well now. Now they become a bit more comfortable in that environment, and what happens? They start playing with the others. Yes or no? This happens, isn't it? So you see the point. When we force it too much because we think they're like us or they should be like us, when they're not like us, this is their nature, this is their natural temperament. You can't change every part of your child like that. So you have to understand this is how my child is, and then try your best to accommodate for that. Allow them that bit of time. Yes or no? That is fine, don't worry. Sit here, beta. It's fine. When you're comfortable, join them. No problem. You didn't force them. What happens now? Do you see that reaction now that they will have towards you, being understanding towards them? And also not only their reaction, but your reaction. Can you see how much easier you can take that now? That you don't think that they're showing you up anymore. Yes or no? Likewise, if you're going to go to the uncle's house, for example, you're going to go to this relative's house, for example, right? And you're only going to be there for a little while. What are you doing? You're preparing your child from before. On the journey, whilst you're going there. Beta, I know you don't like to do salam very often, but look, we're only going to be there for literally 2 minutes. Just do salam, okay? Just salam. Just say salamu alaikum. That's it. Are you okay with that? Don't worry, I will say it first, then you say after me. Okay? Is that all right? I'm sure they will say, okay, I will try. Try, no problem. Right? And you give them that opportunity for them to feel like they've achieved something when they've done the salam. After you come back from that relative's house, you say, I'm very proud of you. Put your hand on their head, stroke them, give them a pat on the back, say, well done, beta. You've done very well. Even though they only did salam, but you know they came out of their skin to try to do that salam, isn't it? Does that make sense? So this is what we mean here, that work to respond more sensitively, and effectively to your children. That's the next thing that we're doing here. Hopefully that gives us a lot of ideas in relation to a lot of these examples that we're talking about here, yes? Anticipate your child's needs and reactions. Let's take another example. Next week, you've got your child's first day at nursery coming up, right? Now you know your child is somebody who perhaps doesn't adapt very well. That's the next one, number 4, right? Doesn't adapt to new environment, new space very well. Okay, they don't like change. So when you take them to that nursery on the first day, you know what's going to happen because you understood the child's temperament, right? What's going to happen? You're going to try to leave them there. They're going to cling on to you, yes? Don't leave me here. Yes or no? And you're like, but I'm coming, don't worry. These are your teachers. This is your new class. This is your nursery. They're going to start crying. Yes or no? They're going to cry and cry and cry. They're going to look at that door, right? They're going to stand, if it's a glass door, they're going to stand at that door looking at you go all the way. Your heart will be melting because they're crying and crying and crying. Yes or no? And maybe you come back to pick them up and they're still crying and you're asking, were they crying all the way? Yeah, they were crying all the way. Yes or no? For all that time you left them there, they were just crying. So how does it make you feel? The point is, when we know that our child is somebody who doesn't adapt to that kind of an environment change very well, then what do we do here? We anticipate that child's reaction to that. So we know it's going to happen in 1 week's time, the child's new nursery. Yes? So what do? We start preparing the child. What do? We say to our child that, beta, next week, you're going to go to a new nursery. I'm really excited for you. Are you excited? So you drop that little line there, drip feed, an idea in their mind, which is that they're going to go to a new class. They're going to be going to nursery next week. Then next day, what do? You start feeding more. Can you see? You feed more, that you're going to see a new teacher, right? There's going to be a new teacher. What do you think? Shall we take them a little gift? Come on, let's go. Let's buy them a gift. Come on, let's go. So you're going shopping anyway somewhere, just buy them a little mug or something. You say, what do you think? This is a good idea for your teacher, isn't it? What do you think? A little pen or something. Yeah, do you think you want to gift them this? What do you think? Yeah, I want to gift them this. So what happened now? Okay, go on, let's buy that. So what is it now? You're gearing them up to now be adapting in their mind that they're going to go next week to what? This class, nursery class. Does that make sense? When you keep doing that day by day, in the lead up to that 1 week before they're going to go to nursery, what happens when you're actually going to leave them there, now there will be a much easier reaction from them. They will accept themselves being in that new environment compared to what it would have been if you just surprised them, left them there without preparing. Does that make sense? So the point here is, once you've identified, once you've understood their temperament, you've understood your temperament, you've understood how reaction will make an effect on them, you've understood how you should react sensitively towards their temperament, then what are you doing now? You're anticipating what could perhaps happen. Hopefully that makes sense, yes? Then what you're doing, help your children learn ways they can help themselves fit better in all environments. So as they're growing, you make them understand that, beta, you're somebody who doesn't like new environments, yes? Or you're somebody who, when you meet new people, you need a bit of time to get used to them, yes? You're making them understand their temperament, yes? And you're teaching them regarding this temperament so that in the future, any time in life, as they grow older, they know this skill, the skill of how to adapt to that environment. Otherwise, if you never teach them this and you make them feel really bad regarding having this kind of temperament, that you are always a loner, you're a loner. Yeah, you just keep yourself to yourself. You don't want to mingle with anybody. You just tell them these things. You name call them, basically, right? And you're putting them on the side. What's going to happen? They're going to grow up thinking this as a negative quality of themselves. Now, when they go to a new classroom, even if it be in secondary school, they're going into a new class. What's going to happen? They're going to keep themselves reserved. Now, what happens to any child that is on the side and doesn't mingle with all the other children? What's going to happen to them? They're the ones who get bullied, isn't it? So now they're going to get picked on. Now when they get picked on, we know what happens. It's a snowball effect. Everyone's going to pick on them. Year after year, they're going to be the one that gets picked on all the time. They're going to get bullied. They're not going to feel good about themselves. All throughout their school, they're going to get bullied like this. Why? Because we never taught them how their temperament is and how they can adapt to that environment that they're going to find themselves in to be able to fit that. Does that make sense? So this is why we need to teach them. This is just an example. We need to obviously teach them so that they're able to fit into any environment they find themselves in. They can, inshallah, pick up the skill. Now, habitually, very important here is habitually take your child's temperament into account. Because obviously, as the child grows, what will happen is they will develop. Right? You develop, right? Just like, for example, as we grow older, once upon a time, you were somebody who didn't mind a little cold. It was cold, no problem. Yes or no? The AC is blasting, it was okay for you, no problem. But now you've grown old. Yeah, we've got all white hair. You're just about being able to, creep into the masjid, crawl your way maybe into the masjid perhaps. Yes or no? Now you don't like that same cold, do you? You're like, who turned the AC on? Who finds it hot? Turn it off. Yes or no? So can you see your temperament has also changed over time? Yes? In the same way, as your child grows older, their temperaments do develop. They do change. So don't take it for granted that you took a temperament test 5 years ago and your child is still the same 5 years later. They will develop. So that's why regularly, every so often, do take this temperament test as well, and just to see whether they have changed, and then you can help them in this process that we've discussed in quite a lot of detail, inshallah, yes? So hopefully these examples will allow you to be able to relate to daily life in regards to this. And just to share another example that comes to mind regarding this as well, if, for example, let's take on this temperament test, we had number 9, we had a child who's very sensitive, right? Maybe their sensory threshold is maybe quite low. And you're somebody who's tough, right? You're really tough. You're not really fazed by, you don't get distracted very, very easily. So for example, let's say you're sitting with them to try to teach them something. Yes? You're teaching them something. And you're trying to explain to them something, but every few seconds every few minutes you notice that they're distracted, they're looking somewhere else, and they're like daydreaming about something else, and then you're asking them a question, it's like they can't answer the question. They're like, sorry? You're like, I just explained this to you. No, I didn't understand. Okay, so you explain it again to them, yes? You explain it again to them, and then after a little while they're distracted by the carpet, and they're playing with the carpet perhaps, or they're fidgeting with their clothes, or something else, and they're like, you whack them one, yes or no? Yes or no? One whack. I've told you to pay attention. How many times am I going to explain to you? Yes or no? Why? It's because you haven't understood that your child is somebody who gets distracted very easily. The smallest of distraction is they're off. Something in the window, they see something distracting them, they're off, their mind is gone somewhere now. So they can't concentrate, right? Because they've got a very short attention span. You haven't understood that. So what happens now? You haven't accommodated for their short attention span. Now, if you know that they've got a very short attention span, you know that they can't concentrate. So what are you going to do? Try to accommodate that environment to be such that if you're going to sit there and maybe let them learn sabak, for example, right? You make sure there are no distractions. You make sure that, okay, you're going to be in this room. I've emptied this room for you. There is nobody in this room. Likewise, you're going to be turned, your bench is going to be facing towards the wall, so there aren't any other distractions. Because if they face everybody else, they're going to look inside, they're going to look at one person, and straight away they're going to be distracted. And they're going to think about talking to that person now, they're going to think everything else. You see? So if you accommodate for your child's short attention span, understanding that they will be distracted by the smallest of movement, yes or no? Then what will you do? You accommodate. You make sure that there aren't too many distractions. They don't have a fidget in their hand, something to fidget with. They're sitting with minimal distraction. They're sitting facing a plain wall perhaps even, right? So they don't have anything that will take their mind away. And then you try to get them to concentrate. And then you will see fruit, inshallah, because you've adapted, you've allowed them to be in an environment which is in accordance to their temperament, inshallah. So hopefully this has given a lot of elaboration as to following the steps of creating this best fit, a good fit for your child, inshallah.
Okay, so before we move on, because we have covered quite a bit, I'm just going to summarize, inshallah. So we started off the workshop by saying that the formula for success as parents has 3 factors. Number 1 is having a vision for your child. And we all agreed that the primary vision for all of our children is righteousness. Okay. And so we said, okay, that we all agree on. But how then do we make that vision a reality? And that itself had 3 components, right? That number 1, you must make sure that you are modeling the behavior you want to see in your child. You must model that yourself, because your children follow your actions more than your words. Secondly, the way your child spends their weekly hours, their schedule must also prioritize your goal, your vision. And then thirdly, the decisions that you have to make at different intervals of their life also align with that vision, or in line with that vision. If these 3 things come together, inshallah, you are maximizing your chances of your child attaining that vision. The second aspect after vision in the formula for success was understanding your child. Because you can have a vision, but every one of your children is unique. So you need to understand your child so you can work with that child most effectively. So the first aspect of that we went into just now in a lot of detail, which is understanding each of your children's temperament. And understanding in particular how your temperament and their temperament differs. And as Mufti Sahib explained, you will see from amongst your children, one of them in particular that you kind of get on with very easily. And maybe one of them that you don't see eye to eye with at all. And when you did the temperament quiz, you will notice the one you get on with, your temperaments are quite similar. The one you don't, there's quite a lot of differences there. Okay? Now, the reality is that this goodness of fit and doing all of this actually requires effort. That's the truth. It requires effort to accommodate for your child. Before you go shopping, you're recognizing they have high energy, taking them to the park. Okay, they're starting a new school, building them up a week before. All of these things Mufti Sahib advised, in reality they take effort. And that requires us to change our mindset. Which is what? That we have to realize that parenting is a two-way process. For many of us traditionally, parenting is one way. I tell my child and they obey. Yes or no? And that's it. That's where it ends. But what this is teaching us is that just as we want our children to be flexible, to be moldable, we have to be flexible ourselves. We have to be willing to put in that effort ourselves. Right? So we have to be understanding of their temperament and accommodate that as much as we can ourselves. Right? So this is the first mindset shift that is required. That you as a parent sometimes may have to adjust, and that's part of being a good parent. Now, the second aspect of understanding your child, one is their temperament, of course. But the second aspect is your child's intellectual strengths and weaknesses and their character strengths and weaknesses. Most of us here, if not all of us, the vast majority, come from an Asian background. Now, for those of us from an Asian background, if you are good at maths and science, then you're intelligent, or your parents thought you're intelligent. And if you're not good at maths and science, then you're basically dumb, right? Yes or no? That's kind of what it was. Yes? But subhanAllah, the reality is once you leave the school and you go out into the real world, what do you learn? That maths and science is not the only intelligence. Actually, there are so many other skills in life that are even more important. For example, your ability to communicate, your ability to manage your time, your self-discipline, your ability to build relationships with other people and network. But these skills are actually even more important in life than your ability to do, integration and differentiation. Yes or no? That's the truth of it. So we as parents have to expand our mind. If Allah has not blessed you with a child who's, A star in maths and science, don't doom them to failure. But rather as a parent, look, okay, where is this child's strength? And this is where Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences comes in. Okay? So pay attention, inshallah. Gardner says that intelligence is of different types. And as we go through this, think about your children. Right? Which one do they have? So the first type is visual spatial. A child that is good, for example, somebody who's a graphic designer, makes really good quality posters. Yeah? Or you have maybe an architect. Right? These people have especially good visual spatial skills. That is where their intelligence is. Linguistic verbal. Somebody who's good at oratory. You have a khatib, gives a very, very good bayan. Your favorite YouTube celebrity speaker. Very effective in conveying their thoughts, communicating their ideas. Yes or no? These politicians, right? Very good at spinning a lie and making you believe it as well. Right? This is down to their linguistic verbal skills. Yeah? Interpersonal. Your ability to interact with other people. Yes or no? So for example, you have counselors and therapists. They know how to deal with other people. They understand what makes other people tick. Right? Their ability to build relationships with others. A salesman. A salesman excels at linguistic verbal, because they're selling you things, and building relationships to make you feel like, I'm looking out for you. I want good for you. I'm not looking out for myself. Yes or no? So these are the two skills that salesmen combine. Yes? They don't have to be good at maths necessarily. Intrapersonal, understanding yourself, who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. Some people are very self-reflective. They know where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. That's a type of intelligence. Yes or no? Right? Logical, mathematical, I think we all get that one. Musical, okay, we don't listen to music, but you have a qari, a reciter of the Quran, for example, or a nasheed artist who can vary their voice, vary their tone. They understand these things. That's musical intelligence. Bodily kinesthetic, athletes. And the naturalistic, somebody who understands the natural world. Now, while we're going through this, you will easily recognize that actually, maybe my child doesn't have that much logical, mathematical, but that's fine. There are actually other skills they have that I can nurture. And that is your job as a parent. From a young age, start to notice, where are my child's strengths and how can I then nurture these strengths? Yeah? You think about these athletes. They say that many athletes that reach the top in their sport actually start off at a very young age. Yeah, I'm sure you've all heard of Tiger Woods, for example. Right? Great golfer, maybe not a great human being, but a great golfer, right? Now, they say that he started golfing at 3 years old. Why? Because his father recognized that, okay, my child's got a bit of a talent here. He didn't say, you're dummy, you're doomed to failure because you're not good at maths and science. No. Yes or no? So we recognize that success in life isn't dependent just on our grades. We have to, as parents, expand our minds. And especially now in the age of AI, we're all worried about AI. The reality is, the way the world is right now, the careers that are out there, in 10 years' time, it will be completely different because of AI. And that is why now, our children are being advised that don't focus so much on maths and science as much as you focus on soft skills. Because these soft skills will remain. They'll help you no matter how the world changes, how careers change. So we as parents have to expand our mind, give our children skills of the future, right? And recognize their strength and don't doom them to failure yourself. And the same applies to our children's character strengths and weaknesses. For example, you can tell from a young age, my child doesn't like to share. Yes or no? So now it's your job as a parent to recognize that. My child is a bit selfish. You give him a toy, he'll never share it. You have to now teach your child. And look, when you share, Allah loves that. Allah will give you more. If you share with others, Allah will give you more. If you don't share, then Allah will not give you more. And you teach your child over and over and over until you remove that bad trait and you replace it with a good trait. This again comes down to, as a parent, understanding your child. Right? So the summary of this section is that along with having a vision, you need to understand your child. The way you understand them is by understanding their temperament and then creating a good fit. And then secondly, by understanding their intellectual strengths and weaknesses, nurturing their strengths and plugging their weaknesses. And then thirdly, understanding their character strengths and weaknesses, and then their weaknesses, their character weaknesses, helping them slowly to wean off and come off those weaknesses. And this will be different for every child. This will be different. And I appreciate, again, this requires effort. But this is the effort that is required if we want to have children that are the coolness of our eyes. Okay. So with that, alhamdulillah, we have completed the first two sections of our three sections of the formula of success. We've looked at vision, and we've looked at understanding your child. The third aspect now, which we'll go into, is parenting skills. Now, if you want to be a perfect parent, there are 8 skills you must have. Now, obviously, none of us are perfect parents, but this is something we can aspire to. Just a disclaimer here, this full workshop is actually about 4 hours plus, right? Don't worry, we'll stop at Maghrib time, inshallah. But that means we don't have time to go into all 8. Yeah, we might touch on the first one. Inshallah, in a future workshop, we can come and wrap the rest of them up. Okay? But just as an overview, these are the 8 skills that you must develop as a parent, right? And if you have these, you will have the skills to be a successful parent. Okay? So just to quickly breeze through these before we go into detail, the first one, as we mentioned, is to be someone who models the behavior themselves. As a parent, if you're a smoker, for example, but you tell your child, don't smoke, they're going to laugh. Yes or no? They say, look, you're a chain smoker yourself. What are you talking about? Yes or no? So modeling behavior, it's the first thing. It's the most important thing. Okay. Number 2, the foundation of your relationship with your child should not be fear, it should be love. You know, many of us, we used to fear maybe our father. Or some of us maybe even fear our mothers. Depending, yeah? But now, this does not work. It doesn't work anymore. Your relationship with your child has to be primarily based on love. Why? Because of the environment we live in. You know, if we create an environment of fear, where your child fears you, the chance they get where you're not around, where you're absent, where you're not there to supervise them, to look over them, what will they do? Do everything against your wishes. Yes or no? And also, we know that it's very easy for children now to get social services involved. Right? So even the way you discipline your children and your daily interaction has to be with love, primarily. Yeah? I'll give you a real example. There was a family that came for some help, and they said that, Shaykh, there's been an issue. I said, what's the issue? And they said, look, what happened was that, our children have been messing around a lot, coming late from school, going out at night times, getting into teenage age. And so one day they came home from school late. They should have been back about 3:30, but they were late. So the father, he tells the children who are standing outside that I'm not going to let you in the house. Because you're late and you keep on doing this, stand outside. That's your punishment. So while the father's telling the children, he goes back inside. A while later, he comes back out, and the children are gone. So he's thinking maybe they've just gone, somewhere local. They'll come back, right? After a while, they get a knock on their door, and it's the police. The police. And they, why the police at our door? And turns out the children had gone to the local police station, and this is true, which is very recent, and complained to the police that our parents lock us out of our house and they mistreat us. Now, of course, the parents weren't doing that, but it's very easy for a child just to complain. And so the police come to investigate, and then they involve social services, and now you have social services coming home, investigating, asking the children all kinds of questions, making your life difficult. And these are real things that are happening. Yes? So that's why the primary factor in your relationship with your children has to be love. Yeah? Where they recognize, even when you tell them off, that this is coming from a place of love. The third aspect is quality time. It's impossible to cultivate any healthy relationship without quality time. If you tell me that, Shaykh, I want to have a good relationship with my wife, but I don't want to give her any time, I'll say impossible. I want to have a good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I don't want to pray salah, or do dhikr, or sit on the musalla, or make dua. I don't want to give time. It's impossible. So for any relationship, it requires quality time. So even with your children, they need focused quality time to nurture your bond with them. Right? Without that, you cannot be a perfect parent. The fourth trait is effective communication. Effective communication means that every time you sit down with your children, you're not lecturing them. It's not a 1 hour, BBC news broadcast, right? It needs to be clear, precise, direct. They need to understand the point, and that's it. Otherwise, you ask the children, as soon as you start talking, they're, daydreaming. Because they know this is a 1 hour bayan they're coming for. Yes or no? Some of our parents, we know they were like that. We would just be sleeping. Yes? So communication needs to be very clear, very effective, very direct, and to the point. Once you've spoken, you can ask the child, what did I say? And they can tell you simply. Number 5, to be an active listener and empathize. To be an active, I know as parents, we think our job is to talk, right? And we're very good at that. But actually, as a parent, you have to be a better listener. That you have to understand your children, you have to let them speak, understand what's going through their minds, especially as they're growing and getting into their teenage years. There's all kinds of things going on. If they don't feel that you have ears to listen, they'll go find other ears. Their friends, other people who'll be there to give them lend them an ear. So you have to be an active listener. Somebody they feel like they can come and talk to who will listen and who will empathize. What do? Sometimes we listen, but then we judge. So you did this, and then we start advising them. No. Listen and then empathize, understand their situation. Try to put yourself in their shoes, rather than judge them. Because no one likes being judged, especially when you're a teenager with raging hormones, right? So don't judge them. And again, these are all skills that we can discuss in detail, most likely in a future workshop, inshallah. Number 6 is to set boundaries. Sometimes in loving our children, we don't set boundaries. We think, if I set boundaries, my children will think I'm too strict. No, children need boundaries. Yeah, if you imagine a boat without a captain, right? A boat without a captain will capsize. Your child is like that boat. You are the captain. You need to steer that boat. That's your job. So you have to set boundaries. In trying to love your children, if you don't set boundaries, they will end up confused. Because their brains have not developed to that stage where they can set their own boundary. Easy example. If you let your child play a video game and don't stop them, they'll play all day and all night. They won't eat, they won't drink, they won't pray salah. They'll just be on it, until they complete the entire game. So what do you have to do? Set boundaries. Look, an hour is enough. Okay, salah time, you have to stop. Lunch time, stop. Yes or no? You have to set boundaries. Number 7, positive reinforcement. When your child does something good, don't feel ashamed to praise them. Tell them, express it to them. Children love praise. It's like a drug for them, literally. Yes or no? They feel so good that my parent praised me, right? So praise your children when they do something good. This creates a positive cycle. It's a positive loop. They did something good, you praise them. They feel good, so they do something good. You praise them, they feel good, so they do something good, and the cycle continues. This is the benefit of positive reinforcement. Many of us as parents, when our children go wrong, we're quick to correct. But when they do something good, we're very slow to praise. So positive reinforcement. And number 8, probably the hardest one for many of us, is being consistent in our discipline. Yeah. Many of us, our disciplining methods are very chaotic, arbitrary. One day the child does something and you're shouting your head off. You're reacting as if they've committed a major crime. And the next day the same thing and you don't say anything. Yes or no? So children end up confused that, the thing that I just did, I just spilled something. Was that good or bad? Was it major or minor? What's going on here? So your discipline has to be consistent. There has to be discipline and it has to be consistent. And also, it has to be doable. Oftentimes, we make these threats. A common example, you're going down the motorway, your child's, frustrating you, and you're telling them, look, stay quiet, they're not listening. So eventually you say, look, if you don't stay quiet, I'm going to park on the side and drop you off. That's your threat, your punishment. You're never going to do it. So next thing, they don't stop. Now you're stuck. You can't drop them off. What do? So your child recognizes, it's just empty threats. Yes or no? So whatever you say, you have to carry out. It has to be doable and it has to be consistent. Yeah. Imagine in this country you had laws. One time you're speeding, they let you off. Next time you're speeding, they give you 3 points. Another time you're speeding, they take away your license. You're confused, like, is this, what are the boundaries here? So these laws have to be consistent. Okay. So these are the 8 skills of a perfect parent, summarized. Like I said, inshallah, we'll go into the first one in a bit of detail. Inshallah, on a future occasion, hopefully we can return bi-idhnillah and we can go into the rest.
So now let's look at an example of this from our great Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's obviously some people may be wondering that where did he get this 8 perfect parenting qualities from? Right? We didn't make it up. So obviously it's from the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when we look at how he did the tarbiyah, how he nurtured those under his care. So let's just take one simple example here. A famous hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is narrated by Umar ibn Abi Salama radiyallahu anhu. He says, I was a boy under the care of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and my hand used to go around the dish whilst I was eating. So Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to me, "Oh boy, Ya ghulam, oh boy, sammillah, mention the name of Allah. And eat with your right hand. وَكُلْ مِمَّا يَلِيكَ. And eat, كُلْ بِيَمِينِكَ. And eat off the dish what is nearer to you. Okay, so this is what Rasulullah ﷺ instructs him. He tells him 3 things, yes? First, say the name of Allah, eat with your right hand, and eat from the dish that which is near you. So then the Sahabi here, he mentions that since then I have applied those instructions when eating. So can you imagine a young boy hears this instruction from Rasulullah ﷺ, and from that day onwards, whenever he ate, he made sure he stuck by this. How wonderful that would be, isn't it? Right? You might be thinking this is because he was the Prophet. That's why he got this. No, he's done something in a certain way, adopting certain qualities, certain skills that he is teaching us, passing on to us. And if we adopt those skills, we will also receive that kind of effect, inshallah, yes? So now we want to turn this into a bit of a discussion. Out of the qualities that we just discussed, the 8 qualities of perfect parenting, yes? Where can you see any of the qualities coming into play here? I mean, the sisters can reply via Slido, take part, and inshallah the brothers can put their hand up and tell us, where do you think here the perfect parenting skills are coming into play?
Just for the sisters once again, if you would like to join the Slido, just go to slido.com, or even the brothers, if you want to respond anonymously, you're feeling a bit shy maybe perhaps, no problem, yeah. We accept your temperament, that's all right. Just go to slido.com and put in 407 3460. 407 3460. One more time, 407 3460. Yeah, that was effective communication, hopefully. All right. So please put in this number, inshallah, and please do take part. Okay, mashallah. So somebody's responded. Modeling behavior and effective communication. I don't know if they're talking about me or the hadith.
So mashallah, definitely we can see that Rasulullah ﷺ himself would have been eating with what? Eating with his right hand. He would have said Bismillah, and he would have been eating from in front of him, yes? So he would have been modeling that behavior himself. So that one's definitely there, yes? The other one was? Effective communication. Yeah, we can see this, right? Rasulullah ﷺ didn't tell him 1,001 things. Yeah, sometimes our child has done something wrong. What will we do? We got them now, innit? We've got them now. So we'll tell them what they did wrong, but with that we'll tell them what? 100 other things that they've done wrong. You do this all the time. Yeah, yesterday you did this, the other week you did this, last time you did this, you're always doing these kind of things, and I got a complaint from your teacher too, and the rest of it, yes? A whole long list. By the end of it, they're confused. They're like, oh, hold on a minute, what was I meant to do? I don't know. I don't know what I have to do now. So now your child is left there confused. Now they don't end up doing what you've told them, and you're now grieving, you're now complaining to them again. How many times have I told you? But it's like because you weren't effectively communicating to them what you actually wanted them to do. Right? You have to be very clear, like Rasulullah ﷺ has been here, that communication has to be very clear and effective. So we see two qualities, yes? We still got 6 more to identify. Come on. Love, very good. We see the love. Ya ghulam. Oh boy, kind address. Love is something Rasulullah ﷺ showing to him. So we got the 3rd one now. What else can we see? Anything else? Sport. Meaning where? Support. Okay. MashaAllah. He's helping him. Okay. Out of the 8 qualities, what other thing do we have? Anybody? Good. Quality time. Very good. He's spending time with this young boy because he's eating with him. Yes or no? Spending quality time to see the eating habit. And then if correction is needed, he's correcting him. So quality time. 4th one is there. Anything else? Boundaries. Setting boundaries. Very good. He set the boundary very clear. Right? Eat from what's in front of you. Very clear boundary, right? Eat with your right hand. Very clear boundary. So he set the boundary. Very good. 5 we've got. We've got 3 more to identify. Anything else? Consistent discipline. How do we see consistent discipline here? Because we see that if he did this again, we see he himself mentions that from that day onwards, I made sure I always did it like this. So there's no confusion in his part. He's not left there confused like we talked about, sometimes saying this, sometimes saying that, yes? Right? And with consistent discipline comes suitable discipline that we talked about. The discipline has to be in accordance to it. It's not like telling him off in a way whereby shouting at him so much or walking away. Now you made the whole plate dirty. That's it, eat it yourself. Wow, like come on, like that wasn't required. Yes? Does that make sense? So that disciplining was in accordance to the disciplining that was needed there, yes? Okay. So I'm sure we get the picture. The idea is what? That we should see that these 8 qualities that, let's point out some more things. Rasulullah ﷺ here, he takes the opportunity when that opportunity arises, yes or no? He didn't think that, he's only a little child, don't worry, he'll get older and he'll start learning then. Did he think that? No. He took the opportunity. Many, I'm sure we understand, many will say, what? Right, don't worry, they're still young here. A simple example of this, like I went to one relative's house of mine and they have a little baby. At that time, they were just walking around, little toddler, right? And the toddler had a fruit in their hand. So they were eating with their left hand. So when the baby came towards me, I said, beta, not like this. So I took the fruit from that left hand and I gave it into the baby's, or the child's, the toddler's right hand. And I said, eat, beta, here you go. And then I carried on talking with my relative. After a few, literally a minute or so, right? The child is walking around and then I see the baby's changed, the child changed again into the left hand. So eating with the left hand again. So now I take that, I'm making the effort, I'm taking that again. No, beta, take it out. Take it out. And I say, in this hand, right? When my relative can see me making this effort, they say, don't worry, leave them. They're still young yet. You see the attitude, isn't it? That because they're too young, we feel to teach them this. But Rasulullah ﷺ, he took the opportunity and he didn't think that, don't worry, they'll learn when they grow older. Right? Not only that, but what was the thing that Umar ibn Abi Salama was doing wrong here? What was the thing that he was doing wrong? Did you notice? He was doing what? His hand was going around everywhere in the plate, yes? So all Rasulullah ﷺ needed to tell him is what? Eat from in front of you. But did he only tell him that? Did you notice? What did he do? He didn't attack him straight away. He didn't say, eat what's in front of you. Because what do children tend to do when you tell them straight away? When you tell them like that directly, what will they do? I am. Oh yeah, I know. You'll get a remark like that, isn't it? Yes or no? If they're a bit older, they'll maybe kiss their teeth at you as well, right? Yes or no? Or they'll come up with some excuse, something wild that will get under your skin. Yes or no? That I saw you drinking with the left hand. They will say something like that to you as well, yes or no? Where did that come from? Why? Because you attacked them. When you attack somebody, naturally they will go on the defense. Does that make sense? It's natural human instinct. If I come and attack you, you're going to go on the defense. So when you attack a little child like that, they're going to go on defense. And you keep attacking them, they're going to keep defending. And then they're going to learn this response. They're going to learn how to respond to you. And you won't like it. As a parent, you're not going to like it. Yeah. Why are they learning how to respond to you? Because you're constantly attacking them. You have to go in softly. How did he go in softly? He told him 2 things before, which he wasn't necessarily not doing. We don't know if he wasn't doing that. He was just reminding him that, say Bismillah. Yes? Eat with your right hand. And also, what? Eat from in front of you. So what happens? Automatically the child, because the mind is accepting the first 2 instructions, it's much more easier to accept that 3rd instruction. Does that make sense? It's soft. Soft way of approaching rather than going direct kill, direct attack. Yes or no? That's why, we talked about the other quality as well, whereby, you have your child that doesn't share. So many parents, they say that, I've tried that so many times. I buy them a toy and I tell them, share, and they don't do it. They still don't do it. Yes or no? Yeah. And generally, the reason I say why this is the case is because you're reprimanding them at the time when they're not sharing. Yes? So you're basically coming across in a way whereby you're attacking them. Does that make sense? So they're already in this mode, in this mindset that I don't want to share this toy. They're already in that mode. They've already made their mind up. I'm not going to share this toy. This is mine. And then you're countering them or trying to counter them and trying to tell them at that moment, you need to share. Look, Allah likes it. They ain't going to listen to Allah. Doesn't matter if you tell them Allah likes it. Doesn't matter if you tell them Allah will give you more. It doesn't matter if you tell them Allah will give you Jannah. They don't understand that right now because they've made their mind up. Now you are the opposite party to them. So they're fighting in their mind, they're fighting a battle against you as well. And they will take it away from you as well. They'll say, no, I don't want to share. And you will try to force it out of them and they'll still hold on to it. And then if you manage to take it out of their hand and they will really, they're going to do this face. They're going to become really, really sad, or they're going to become aggressive towards you. Yes or no? They're going to stamp their feet. They're going to look at you. Whoa, what are you going to do to me? Oh, the way you're looking at me. Yes or no? They're going to give you the stares. So why is that? Because you picked the wrong moment. You're attacking them. So can you see this point? So you have to build them. You have to understand that temperament as we talked about. That my child doesn't like to share. So then you tell them, look, I'll buy you this, yes? I'm going to buy you this. But you're going to need to share it. Is that okay? Look, I just want you to share it once. Share it though. Let them play with it for 15 minutes. Is that okay? So can you see slowly you're going to get them used to look. Then after the end of 15 minutes, look, it wasn't that bad, was it? Look, it wasn't that bad. Right? And because you did this, I'm going to get you another thing now. Whoa, okay. So Allah does reward me because Allah put it into my heart to give you something now. Yes? So like this, what you're doing, positive reinforcement, which we talked about, right? Positive reinforcement. You're reinforcing their good trait, the good quality that they showed, positively by allowing them to understand how to now share. Does that make sense? So like this is the method, as we're learning from this hadith, where softly Prophet ﷺ approached it. He didn't attack him. Does that make sense? Now, obviously, here you will also see in this hadith, which we mentioned, love and empathy. Rasulullah ﷺ, he empathizes with this child, understands that you're a child, you're going to do this. But how does Rasulullah ﷺ approach him? Is firstly, we know that Rasulullah ﷺ would have earned his respect of this child. And that's the reason why he reacts by what? That Rasulullah ﷺ did not need to tell me again. Yes or no? He didn't need to tell me again, and I held his word with such respect that from that day onwards, I always did it. How does that come about? When you earn that child's respect. So you have to earn that respect from them, right? And that is by growing a good bond, good communication, good relationship with them. So this is what we are seeing in this hadith, besides what we've already highlighted. I'm sure the more you look at the hadith, the more you will be able to take out gems from this. And that's where we're talking about these 8 perfect parenting qualities. Hopefully, this has now allowed us to be able to understand in a practical way of how we can adapt that, or you can say adopt that in our lives, inshallah, yes?
Okay, so I think we have roughly about 15 minutes or so for salah. So what we want to do, inshallah, wrap up, just finish off a little bit more, and then dedicate about 10 minutes or so for questions, inshallah. We've had a number of questions come in from Slido already. So if you do have questions and you want to ask anonymously, please do send them to via the Slido, and inshallah we will try to address them. So we've mentioned the 8 different traits. Just so that we do have sufficient time for questions, because typically after these sessions, we do get a lot of questions come in. Inshallah, we will pause here for today. Hopefully on a future occasion we can come back and actually go into each of those 8 qualities in good detail, discussing how you can practically bring them into your parenting method, right? Just before we do that, I'm just going to skip a few slides. So hopefully today you've worked towards understanding your parenting vision and understood what the main 3 components are for that vision to become a reality, which is that you have to role model that vision yourself. Your child's schedule has to then be aligned with that vision, has to match in terms of priority. And the decisions you make pertaining to your child also have to match up. Hopefully also you learn how you can understand your child better, right? Which is by understanding your child's temperament. You did the child temperament questionnaire, understood their temperament and your temperament, saw how they differed, and saw where the potential clashes may arise. And you saw practically how you can then accommodate their temperament. You also saw Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, how intelligence is beyond just math and science, and how you have to recognize that strength and nurture that strength. And you also saw how children are different in their character traits. Recognizing those traits and working on those traits is also part of your role. And then finally, you learn about the 8 traits of the perfect parent, which we also saw in the prophetic hadith. These traits we touched upon very, very briefly, and inshallah on a future occasion, we will go into these traits in a lot more detail. So with that, let us take some questions. So the first question we have, how do you help a 13 or 14-year-old with managing ADHD symptoms and helping regulate emotions? What does a parent also have to be very mindful of too? So I think, obviously ADHD, autism, these things, these are to do with mental health, right? And these require a mental health specialist, right? So I don't think this is the place for us to advise on that. We did previously have a mental health workshop where we touched on that. But again, I think here it would be best speaking to a mental health professional, inshallah, who can advise you appropriately. Okay. How do you manage when the other parent undermines your parenting? For example, you suggest to pray, but he bribes them with the TV or other un-Islamic, more fun things.
So obviously what's important is the parents need to be on the same page. In order to get yourselves on the same page, you need to have good communication between you and your spouse, firstly. If you have good communication, if you don't have good communication, then obviously we've signposted you onto the marriage skill course. Okay, the crash course, which is available on demand. This is something that I would strongly recommend this person to do with their spouse, with their partner. And if you do with your spouse, inshallah, hopefully they will start to understand that it's vital, very important for there to be harmony between the two of you in your household, for you to both be on the same page. How you simply get yourself on the same page is you have to compromise. They're going to compromise a bit and you're going to compromise a bit. But there has to be respectful dialogue. There can't be, you're sitting and you're attacking each other and you're just constantly at each other. You're wrong and the rest of it, right? Pointing fingers. If you do that, like the way the question has come. Obviously it's an anonymous question, so I'm not attacking somebody here. I don't even know who's asked the question. But the point is, the way that the question has been framed shows that already this person is attacking their partner, right? They already said, in a way that is attack. If you're going to go down that route with your partner and sit with them and try to communicate in this way and attack them this way, then like I explained earlier, they're not going to take from you, and then there's going to be no compromise. They're not going to compromise, and they're going to carry on doing whatever they do, and you're just going to carry on trying to do what you're doing, and it's just not going to work. So you have to drop your guard. You have to let go, stop fighting, stop playing a tug of war, and you have to understand that we're on the same page. We're in the same team. And the only way to create harmony here is I'm going to try to understand you. Why are you doing this? And please let them try to understand you. And like that, hopefully there's healthy, good communication. If you can't get through to your partner, you've tried all of this and you still can't get through to your partner, then you're going to need intervention. You're going to need a good person, not a family member, but somebody who's external, coming in to try to mediate between the two of you, try to allow your partner to understand your perspective and you to understand your partner's perspective. So this person that comes in the middle will understand your partner's perspective, will understand your perspective, and then try to get you both onto the same page, inshallah. When you're on the same page, then there'll be harmony, inshallah.
Okay, next question is as follows. How to mend the relationship with a teenager when the connection between father and son hasn't been the best?
Okay, yeah, good question. It's very common. So you have to utilize the time that you may have, like for example weekends, evenings, holidays, to try to do certain things that they like. Ask them what they want to do. Don't make a schedule for yourself thinking that I know what they like, let me do this with them. And then it backfires because you then say, I did this with you, I did that with you, and you're so ungrateful. They're just going to say, I didn't tell you. I didn't even want to do that. Right? It's like, what? I did all of that for you. Just ask them that, okay, this weekend I'm free, do you want to do anything? You want to go somewhere? They may say no first, right? You ask a second time, a third time, a fourth time. What will happen? One day they'll say, okay, can we go here? Can we do this? Right? Do a certain activity with them if they don't like going out. Understand how this teenager of yours is, right? And play a board game with them if that's what they like, right? Do something that they like doing. When you start doing what they like doing, then you will start to see that slowly, just to give you a simple understanding, I was sharing this story earlier as well, that last year we went on a camp. We talked about camps that we do as well. So we went on a 4-day camp, 3 nights, and just in 3 days, a teenager came to me after the 3rd day, and he says to me, I didn't know my dad was this much fun. He's a teenager, right? He's lived with his dad for this long, and this is his comment. He says to me, I didn't know my dad was this much fun. So now, obviously, you have to avail of the opportunities. You have, like in this masjid, mashallah, you have so many opportunities to avail of. And mashallah, other masajid as well around, we have so many opportunities to avail of activities between, father and son activity. Avail of those activities. Take your child to that activity. In a nice environment as well, you're bonding with them. They will see that actually my dad is quite a lot of fun. When you do things that they like doing, inshallah, slowly that gap will start to become smaller.
And also, just to add, that try and resist the urge to constantly advise your teenager. Right? Teenagers are notorious in that they don't like advice. Right? I remember one teenager said that I don't want to spend time with you because you're just going to keep advising me. Which is, I know as fathers we do that from a good place, but typically they don't want advice. So focus on spending time in a way they enjoy. And once you have that bond, even those small pieces of advice will be effective. Otherwise, even lots of advice will fall on deaf ears, right? So try to resist that urge to constantly be advising. For those who haven't been able to take the questionnaire, maybe they're listening from home or whatever else, if you send us an email, support@themff.co.uk, inshallah we can send you the booklet and you can do the questionnaire. Okay, this is actually a question not from a parent, but from a teenager. So the teenager says, as a teen, how do I try to bring my parents and siblings more towards the deen? For example, reduce or stop watching TV, listening to music, etc.
As a child, it is extremely difficult to try to do tarbiyah of your parent, right? That's simple, truth. To try to get your parent onto a level of taqwa maybe that you may consider the level of taqwa, the practice on religion and all sorts of things, it is quite difficult. Okay? What you can do is try in subtle ways. Okay? So maybe you sometimes listen to something, a bayan on YouTube by some scholar, mashallah, that's talking, And it doesn't have to be a direct hit at them, right? You're not like trying to indirectly hint towards them. Just something general in doing in their company, right? Sometimes, you tell them it would be nice to go to the masjid with you if it's a father, right? Sometimes sitting and doing ta'aleem with them at home and just saying, oh, look at this hadith. This is very interesting. I came across this one. What do you think? And then just doing that one hadith with them and slowly building with something along these lines. But it kind of takes a bit of subtle effort like this. It's not going to be something which you're not maybe going to get to the level which you want to get to, but you'll get somewhere, inshallah. And obviously, coupled with that, you make dua. Okay, inshallah. Obviously, with the dua, you do this small little efforts. You rack your brain a little bit, think tactfully, and inshallah, hopefully, you'll be able to get somewhere.
Sometimes when you try to discipline, for example, take away screen time from your children, they tend to rebel more. So how should you deal with that?
Children generally rebel because they're pushing boundaries. They're trying to see how far can I push my parent, right? I'm going to rebel and I'm going to see if they crack, if they break. Okay? That's the simple reason. If you set a certain thing to be a point of discipline and you think it's reasonable, remember, you're going to have to assess whether it's reasonable or not. If you assess your child is rebelling and it's something maybe a little too hard-handed, you're like too harsh on them. For a small thing that they did, you've taken away their whole screen time and you've not just minimized it for 5 minutes, but you've taken the whole thing away from them. Then generally they're going to rebel because they feel hard done by. So if it is the case, then you have to accept you're wrong. You have to accept it. And there's nothing ashamed, nothing embarrassing in doing that. It actually teaches your child that if you're wrong, it's no problem to admit that you're wrong. So you can explain to them that, look, maybe I shouldn't have done this, and the next time I'll make it up to you, and they'll respect that my parent was able to hold their hand up and recognize that maybe, and they will cut some slack to you, right? If you see that no, actually the discipline was deserved and it was correct for me to discipline in this way, then you need to hold firm. You just need to make sure you follow through. You can't cave in, okay, to their pressure that they're causing you. Does that make sense? It's simple, and eventually they will crack, not you.
And also a point worth adding is that this workshop that we did today was actually dedicated primarily to children between the ages of 4 and 12, or at 12 and under, really. So a lot of the techniques that we spoke about are much more effective during this age range, right? Once it gets to teenagers, you have to kind of back off a little bit. If you're as intense as you were when they were younger, then they are very likely to rebel. And a lot of the advice that we gave, when you try apply it on a teenager, you may not find it has the expected or hoped response. Alhamdulillah, we do have a separate workshop that is dedicated to teenagers, right? Because that's what they deserve. Yeah? So inshallah, in a future occasion, we can try and cover that. Okay, we'll take one last question, inshallah, and break then. For children who are doing hifz, for example, mornings, evenings, even weekends, they're constantly reciting Quran, sabaq, dor, etc. Is this sufficient for their schedules toward deen?
The simple analysis that you have to make, if this is creating the love of deen in them, then inshallah it's enough. If it's not creating that in them, and it's not enough then for them. So you have to see the effect that it's having on your child. Then you're going to have to do something. Be it, like we said, a 5-minute, a 10-minute ta'aleem or something, or be it that you take them on a weekend to the masjid and let them have some fun in some fun activity that is taking place. But you're going to have to do something to try to create that in them, inshallah.
Okay, so inshallah with that we come to an end. Jazakumullahu khairah to all of you for coming, taking part, participating. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us and you and enable us to raise children who will be the coolness of our eyes and a means of pride for Islam and the Muslims and a revival of the ummah, inshallah. And also a big jazakumullahu khairah to Mufti Muhammad here and to the masjid as well for organizing and for allowing us to host. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept and allow us to come back again on a future occasion. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.